What I'm going to do is make this a little bit thicker, just so we can have a little bit more depth to the photo. It's going to be microscopic how much I'm going to be raising this. I just want it to be slightly raised over top of the floor. I think that raisedness of the floor is going to create a lip on this floor to be able to make it higher and the shadows to reflect a little bit differently. All right, so we have it as raised floor texture. We have this floor texture. The next step is how do we make this stage? So the stage is of the same material of the raised floor, but we are going to have it be a rounded square. Let's dive into how we are going to make that happen. So we'll go out of edit mode here. We know that it's transparent or shiny, so I don't need that sphere. Let's do a cube and make sure that this is on the axis. As I'm saying axis and not axis. I'm going to put it here, right on it. I don't want to be off of it. Let's turn this room back on just so I can see how it's existing in this space. Since we have those dark walls, there's no light really being reflected. Let's actually turn that a little bit down and maybe bring this up. Yeah, so now it's gray as opposed to just jet black. And I'm able to see some of those textures a little bit more. Let's have this have the raised floor texture for consistency, because we also know that this is a raised shiny surface as well. And let's make this the size that we are looking for. So let's go into this view. This actually helps a whole lot more. You see that lip. We're going to want this along the 3D cursor because that is flat on the line. Make this flat while still being raised. And we want this to be larger, so then we'll switch to individual origins to make this more of a stage. And what I'm going to do, I'm taking some creative liberties here because I have not seen the movie Joker, as most people haven't because it's not out yet. And I'm going to extend it back here. I'm extending it back here because as I start working and having more elements into this piece, I don't want to start being stingy with what I put and where because it's not enough room on this square. Just overall, it's not going to be relevant to the camera. I want to make sure that I have the space. We see that this stage is elevated. I kind of want it to be actually a little bit higher. There we go. And now we have a stage, a floor, and a raised floor within this scene. I'm going to also add another texture to this because I think the rim of this stage is not that texture of a raised floor, but the top is. So stage walls, let's just call it that for simplicity. Go into the edit tab and let's select these walls. This side and then also this side. We'll assign that texture. Let's go into this so we can see it appropriately, and let's bring it down to like that gray texture that I talked about previously. We don't want too much roughness on it because we want it to kind of blend in and not be reflecting a bunch of light. I want the wall to come out a little bit more and be circled out. This will pinch it just a little bit. Let's do the stage being pinched. And then we also want this wall to be an arch. We're already getting it to be a little bit arch, and let's pull this back out to where it was again so that it is round but is still in the shape that we desire. And let's just chop that even more around, grab those outside edges, and we will bevel. What's the beveling in my artwork? There we go, segment. Make it nice and round on the stage. This is what we were going for. A nice like iPhone looking shape up at the top. What does this look like when we change into the export view? Yeah, this is what we're looking for. We want that rounded stage to be able to catch some of the light, but also reflect some of the light. Next thing here that we're going to be trying to do is create that backdrop of curtains. I already have a show that's called Doom Destiny Wrestling that I've been working on. And I have some backstage segments within this world of wrestling that I've already have created, and it has a curtains and like a rig system with all these different lights and things. So I'm going to be importing that into this scene, so I'm not having to recreate the wheel here. So let's pull that in. We'll tab out of this and go into objects. We'll go to append. Brought a lot in, and we'll try to get rid of some of these things that we don't need. Let's bring all this over into our scene. Right now it is really far away because it was set to what I had previously. Let's get rid of this matte. We don't need the matte. Make all of these smaller in the same scale. These are going to be production lights. I've already made these in the past, so like I mentioned, don't want to do this again. I really wanted to reuse assets that I had already have to best serve what I think this picture could look like. So we have this rigging set back here. I believe in the photo, it is structured almost like there is a front section of curtains and then there's a back section of curtains. So I'm going to try to imitate that as much as I can. Curtains are also pretty high. I will adjust this accordingly. And then we need to start looking at what do these curtains look like? And it seems like it's red on the outside, then yellow, and then blue. So let's try to imitate that as close as we can. I'm going to make this see-through so I will not have any issues as I'm trying to grab some of these sections of curtain. I'm kind of just mentally mapping out where this would be. Let's do it around there. We'll do curtain 1 where this is going to be red. And then let's make another curtain, and this one will be yellow. And then finally one last one where it'll be a curtain and we'll call it blue. So let's start with the red one. We'll assign it for this. And we will go into shading. Under shading, we want the color to be red, as I mentioned. So since we already have this, let's do a color ramp right here where the color is. Let's start giving it red. Then I want to invert the selection here. And I want to have this section be the yellow. Let's add another color ramp here, and we'll have it be yellow. And the yellow starts to become really dark in the center, so that's perfectly okay. And then lastly, let's turn this off, and I want to grab this section right here for the blue. And let's lastly grab another color ramp and put it that blue that I mentioned. I wanted to alter it just a little bit so it can be within the color schemes that I desire. Since I was able to look at this and guess, let's now start getting a little bit more precise. I want this to be teal. There we go. The yellow I actually want to be a little bit more orange, and the red I also want to be a little bit more orange. By cooling out these colors, I feel like it starts to look more within the palette of these characters that we'll be bringing in, as opposed to standing out from the characters, which we don't want the background to stand out too much. I'm going to now take all this and duplicate it. Shift. And we will move this one in the background. Like I mentioned, it seems like there is 2 layers of curtains here, one in the front, one in the back. So we'll do that over here. We have one section of it done, and then let's do another one. Duplicated it already. And we'll rotate this, rotate that. And lastly, we will do it one more time. We have a wall of curtains. What I'm going to be trying to do is now take these curtain left, and curtain right. Make sure they're sitting right on our raised platform. For the time being, I want the camera to be here so I'm able to double check things are looking accordingly to how I want them to look, or also just things are lining up. How I always try to make my camera jump to where I am on the viewport as opposed to trying to manually do it. I do Control Alt and 0 and it automatically moves the camera to that position. I want this to be a 35mm camera, and I also want the sensor to be 35. All right, cool. So this is starting to look exactly how I wanted it to look. I didn't want for this to start looking like it is too cartoony. I want it to be like a mixed medium almost, where it felt authentic to what I saw in the trailer. Let's take these spotlights that I've already created and put them into the scene where sort of the light would be. I just want to bring some light into this kind of dark room. What we're going for is like a live studio audience situation. And this is with the Eevee engine, which I feel like most people think looks rough, but I think it just requires a little bit more love and work to be able to make it look how you desire with your creations. And let's make all of these a little bit warmer of light. Right now they are really white with how they are showing up. And I usually prefer warmer lighting for my artwork, just because I usually draw my characters in very warm lighting. This looks better than what I initially thought it was going to look like, so I'm very happy.